Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and as always with John Fitch for Mixed Martial Mindset. How are you this evening, afternoon, John?
Doing good. Had a productive day.
Man, with that new beard, you look like you could shake someone down for a mafioso kind of deal. I like it. It's very, it's very leather jacket coming to your house, digging
Yes,
the
we're
beard and mustache combo,
we're
my
doing
friend.
some real work right now. Get some stuff done. Getting our hands dirty.
So, I'm not sure whether or not you watched the Trilla in
I
Manila.
did watch the Thrilla and the Trilla. It was watched.
I watched it as well. We're going to talk about that not only in regards to the fights. Obviously, this is mixed martial mindset, and there was
The,
no.
the circus. The
Yep,
circus.
it
The
was
circus was in town. We talked about this last night on my podcast.
well. I want to talk about the entire circus of 9/11 on top of it because if you had told me on the 10th anniversary of 9/11 that on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 you would have every single former president masked up who was still alive, other than Carter. You know, Carter's in rough shape. I don't think he was down there. Instead of Carter, they decided to have Michael Bloomberg, billionaire aficionado, and the lord of the contact tracing
Mm-hmm.
there masked up, even though he holds no government positions now, and he's one of the most hated mayors in New York City history. No big deal. They have that going on while Bush is talking about, let me quote it, violent extremists abroad and at home are children of the same foul spirit. Now, on top of that bizarro world that I'm watching, the only president that is not there and masked up is a guy that actually goes out amongst the people, the firefighters, maskless, as everybody crowds around him and smiles, and he's disrespected and hated by the media as the media smears people like
Yeah.
me for asking questions about 9/11.
Clown world. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre world.
But bro, that's not the end. The end is him going down to, I believe, where were the fights? Florida, right?
They're in Florida. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
down to Miami.
So flying down to Florida after the fact, sitting with his son and Jorge, well, first
Junior
Junior Dos Santos, and then Jorge
Yeah.
Masvidal,
Jorge
calling
Masvidal.
a fight where a 58-year-old Evander
Hero
Holyfield.
man fought an MMA, juiced up MMA guy, and I can't believe people thought that he was going to win.
I can't. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. He looked better than, say, Tito did. When Tito came out there with pillow hands, I'm like,
Tito,
I was like, what's happening? Because he had nothing
Tito
on
was
those
never that
punches.
fast to begin with. That's why I always thought the boxing thing was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but you know, I watched him a couple years knock out Liddell, and that's how Liddell looked against Tito, like that slow. I knew Anderson's hands were still pretty fast, and as soon as Anderson hit him one time, it was pretty much over. Like,
Yeah, he didn't. It was bad. It looked so bad that it almost looked like a work. He threw three really slow, lumbering hooks in a row. It's like
I
counter it,
I don't think it was a
counter it,
work. I think Tito came
counter
in
it.
there looking terrible.
He hit him hard.
Yeah, he did.
So
He got Anderson got hit
it
him
was, yeah.
hard with those. Yeah,
It
that,
was like him and an old man, like Tito. I mean, they were the same age, but Tito's who's training these guys and working out with these guys and spending time with these guys and letting them and telling them like, hey man, you look great. That was awesome, awesome round of sparring. Like, are they even sparring anybody, or is it just a payday?
does that set up Belfort versus Anderson 2 only in a boxing ring?
Like, and I mean, no, because
There's no star power.
it's too much sport. I talked about this on my show last night, but like, I believe that the participation trophy generations have led us to this point where we don't value like competence hierarchies. The guys who are really good, the guys who like have to work hard and excel and actually win and perform to win. It's all become about just entertainment now and how you feel and how it makes you feel. So you don't really care anymore about the guy who is better because he worked harder. You're looking for like a freak show because you just want to feel good about two people doing something.
Well, listen, I'm
I
seeing
don't know.
people in there
I
trying to
have a
say,
hard time. It's because the more we talk about this stuff, it's like the less it's about who's the really best boxer, who's the really best MMA fighter. It's just what's the biggest shit show we can put together. Like right now it's Conor McGregor and Machine Gun Kelly.
we'll get into that in a minute. But you know
That would
what?
be the highest grossing That would be the highest grossing fight you could put on right now.
I got somebody in here
Just
saying,
be,
come
you
on,
know,
Holyfield barely trained. That's actually not true. Holyfield was trying to get a fight before this, and it trained significantly. The problem is that Holyfield should be in there with another 55-plus guy, not a juiced-up Belfort that's competed in MMA. Now, Belfort versus De La Hoya is a little different for me because De La Hoya is, 48? So they're only 4 years apart. De La Hoya.
I thought that was going to be terrible too because he's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Like how much is like 30 pounds, 40 pounds he's going to have on De La Hoya?
I would think he would have at least 25. But yeah, so he was facing a much larger man. But again, it's not like everybody can be Bernard Hopkins and be a champion in their 50s. In fact, nobody can be Bernard Hopkins other than Bernard Hopkins. On the MMA level, you look at somebody like Vitor, and look, you gotta think both of them were on TRT. Obviously, these guys were on everything. But I don't want to see
at least they got all the guys looked a lot better than Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.
Well, that's because Belfort was there for a fight. You know, he was actually not there to spar. He was there for a fight. He had been trained against De La Hoya, who we have to mention on this program, guys. Again, got double vaccinated and then hospitalized with COVID-19 afterwards. I just want to point that out there. But yeah, let's talk about some of the shit show outside of the boxing. So you got Trump there. Him and his son. You know, Trump's actually pretty knowledgeable.
The whole thing, the broadcast, the presentation, it's all just, you know, have naked girls dancing fine. It's great, but I don't know what I think about the concert. Maybe I'm still on the fence about, you know.
Well, several concerts, right? Shows. Because before the main fight,
several performances in between.
Yeah.
The fights. I don't know. Maybe if I was there live or something.
Also, the timing of it, though. Like, for instance, it was supposed to be midweek when it was supposed to be September 7th. They weren't overlapping on September 11th. It was because of the lateness of the fight that they pushed it back. And then they said, you know what? UFC's not doing one. Bellator's not doing one. Not even PFL. No one's doing one. We had it wasn't even BKFC. I think BYB, Bare Knuckle Boxing, had something I watched after that. But the whole thing was over by 10 p.m. also, right? And even earlier on your end. I would say it's probably over by 8 p.m. on your end.
Yeah, it wasn't late at all.
Not late at all. So you had the afternoon fight. Look, if you're
like
going to
Tito
have...
fought like at 7 or something.
What's that?
Tito fought like at 7 out here.
Yeah. I mean, it was really early. And then they stretched it out almost 45 minutes, an hour before the main event. They actually had a little kid go in there, sing the national anthem.
He was the best part of the whole show.
I agree.
This is the best part.
I agree. The little kid did good. But again, it's just so weird. Again, this is the 20th.
The commentary was like kind of cheesy.
I listened to the Trump cast.
I don't know who a lot of those guys were talking, and then 50 Cent was always there in the middle, and he just looked like he showed up. Like they say, hey, you want to come over here and stand here?
50 Cent looked like he was drunk off his ass. He was barely like when you watched him over moving. And I listened to the Trump cast. So
I'm a big 50 Cent fan, but he wasn't like animated. He wasn't somebody I want to listen to talking about fights or fighters or whatever's going on.
No.
He was just
no.
He was very low energy.
He was drunk, I thought. No offense, 50, but you looked pretty drunk when I saw you. Just the whole show. Look, at the end of the fight, they had Vitor Belfort in the ring talking while they were trying to interview Holyfield and the camera going back and forth. Like it was... Listen, Triller's got to do a better job of producing the actual commentary and fights on top of the shit show that they're performing with. Now, again, you had the former president of the United States. You had Masvidal. You had Junior Dos Santos there. That leads me to believe the UFC absolutely has a stake in this, or WME absolutely has a stake in this, or they would not allow Jorge Masvidal to sit on a panel with Trump. I don't believe that. I really think that Triller has some backdoor UFC funding, or maybe some Fertitta funding. I'm not sure. What's your thought on that, Conspiracy John?
Well, if it's not direct control, it's just, there's a lot of associations, and then they do favors for the big dog because they want to get names. They want to be able to have Masvidal there. They want to have people come to the show. They want to get blocked or counter programmed because UFC is one of the first companies ever did that back in the day with Pride and whatever. They did counter programming. Well, usually, like, companies never would put on a show the same time as another sport, but UFC would do that. So there's all kinds of things that can go along with why you wouldn't want to upset those guys, why you had to play along and you had to like serve them. Like, no, that's why I say that nobody's competing with UFC. Nobody's trying to compete with UFC. None of the other fight promotions, none of the other movie promotions are actually trying to compete with UFC. They all understand their place underneath them, and they're just working underneath them. Hopefully, they'll get some of their guys to the big show, and they'll get some promotion through that. Maybe they'll get on Fight Pass. Maybe they'll get one of the older fighters from that promotion when it's time to go. Yeah.
So let's talk about some other shit shows that are out there, right? We got the Triller shit show. We've got the obvious Biden shit show at this thing. Again, all of these quote unquote
It's so
world
ridiculous.
leaders outside at a place most of these people don't even want these people there. Okay, I want to repeat that. They don't want you there. Okay, Biden, I know the media is trying to make it a big deal that FBI documents were declassified involving the Saudi Arabians. Guys, heavily redacted, telling you the same things we already knew about people like Khalid al-Mihdhar, who were heavily involved with the FBI, okay, living with and renting from an FBI informant. None of this is new. Okay, none of this is new. And you had the New York Times, again, attacking 9/11 Truth, everybody attacking Spike Lee for asking questions. Meanwhile, that same media leviathan, right, that hates real questions, that promotes a narrative, right, they'll promote to you and your kids through their propaganda and entertainment a violent rapist at the MTV Movie Awards. Or what was it, the movie or music?
I don't even know. MTV. I don't have no idea.
Well, let's call it the
I
MTV
didn't even know
Shitbag
if they made
Awards.
music videos anymore. I thought it was the Music Video Awards. I think
It was probably the Music Video Awards because I saw the Foo Fighters got something for, again, being lapdogs,
know.
telling everybody to be vaccinated.
Is that a channel? Is MTV still a channel?
So, yeah, I guess.
They still play music?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, because I remember the last time, it was like 10 years ago, that MTV was no longer playing music.
I mean, again,
Wow.
you got this guy in like a fashionable magenta purple suit, okay, who hasn't won a fight in how many years, okay, who is not top level, who's a violent rapist by every sense of the word and evidence. I mean, a multiple-time violent sexual assaulter. Remember Me Too? Yeah, the big social justice channel. Well, guess what? None of that really matters, does it? Instead, let's trend him and Machine Gun Kelly getting into an altercation because somebody threw something at somebody else, and nobody knows why. I can only hope that Machine Gun Kelly was like, hey, you're a violent rapist. I can only hope.
I know who you are.
Yeah.
I watched Jason Burmis.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got the New York Times guy on tomorrow. So he's coming. Oh, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw that article, but it was exactly what I thought. It's all QAnon. Oh, I should feel guilty for everything I've done. I'm a bad guy. Lizard people, blah, blah, blah. And I know. And meanwhile, I'm going to call him out. I'm going to be like, I reported that Conor McGregor was a violent rapist about 2.5 months before you guys even dabbled your toe in it and then chickened out. That's what you are. You're fake. You're fucking soft ass bullshit media that's propagating lies on humanity. And John, I had a conversation this week with this kid over at the local Salvation Army. Now everybody knows that I like to go get deals. I've actually told John to go get monitors at Salvation Army and thrift stores. Dude, one of these stores literally has them for $4.99 a piece. $5, pick your monitor. Like, anybody who wants to do what I do, guys, you can do it at a bargain basement price. So, moral of this story. I'm in Salvation Army probably about a day or two before the 20th anniversary. And there's a 9/11 magazine on there showing the Twin Towers, and it says 20 years with the war on terror, fighting evil. And I kind of look at it and I want to vomit in my mouth a little bit. Okay? And so I look at it and I say something. I'm just like, God damn it. Meanwhile, I don't have a copy here with me, but I'm on the cover of the local Quad City paper right now. All right? With Building 7 and all this other stuff. In fact, shout out to the River Cities Reader for doing that. So I say something. He goes, what? What's is that the wrong take? And I go, oh yeah, brother, it's the wrong take. And I go, and he's just kind of looking at me, and he's got a mask on. He's one of the maskers here in Iowa. No need to have a mask on. We're done. Nobody has one on. He's a younger guy. He's probably in his 20s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I look at him and I go, that right there is why you're wearing a mask right now. Okay? So he looks at me a little confused as I can tell because his mask is covering his face. And he goes, what do you mean? You don't think that COVID is real? And I look at him and I go, real? I go, hey, Junior, it's a bioweapon. I go, it didn't leak out of a lab in China like they're trying to say. Mm-hmm. I go, they worked on the same thing in North Carolina and at Fort Detrick and in the United States. And I go, you want to know how I know it's a bioweapon? He's like, well, yeah. And I go, it has HIV in it, dude. I go, what else do you need to know? And he goes, what do you mean it has HIV in it? And then I explained to him about Luc Montagnier and the India studies that showed that not only was it basically created in a CRISPR-type situation, in other words, gene edited, but it had the P2 protein gene in it. And he looks at that, and he gets a little trembly. He's like, oh. So I have my phone out at this point, and I'm like, and here's the deal. I go, the vaccine is another bioweapon that might give you HIV according to Forbes. And we're going hard here. So again, I'm going to do this quick because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. Okay. Yep. This is an authoritative source. I just want to point that out. When I say that Forbes warned you in October of 2020 that you had an increased risk of HIV, and then when they started running the trials in Australia, people became HIV positive. Well, let me tell you something. That got Junior's attention. So then I went on to say, hey, remember Bayer aspirin? And he was like, yeah, I remember Bayer aspirin. I take it sometimes. I go, they injected a bunch of people who had hemophilia with live HIV, many of them children, okay, with factor VIII, a double shot, and no one went to jail. Now he's starting to turn a little ghost-like, okay? And then, because we had talked last week, John, I ended it with, none of this is new, dude. I go, that's probably a bioweapon too. And by the way, do you know what Lyme's disease is? And he goes, yeah, ticks. And I showed him the same thing that I showed you last week, where they were questioning a Pentagon program of releasing weaponized Lyme disease-ridden ticks on people. What else do you need to know? And I mean, so I do my shopping for a minute, and like I come back up to pay for everything, and he's just sitting there on his phone like this, like. But, I mean, do you disagree? Do you not believe that because we failed on 9/11, that's why we're in our fourth round of lockdowns in some places right now and biometric IDs and everything else?
I think that I mentioned this before, 1997 Telecommunications Act. Mm-hmm. I think when they started to centralize all of the information that we got, that's when we started to lose control. It was a lot harder to see outside the narrative. But then luckily we had the internet, and then the internet gave us information. But I feel the apps, when we started getting the apps, the Instagrams, the Twitters, things like that, it started pushing us and focusing into just certain confined areas where it was less to the Wild West. There's more localized or centralized locations that people spent their time on, like Facebook.
Well, no, listen, right now, they aggregated the internet, right? They made it so instead of this wide web of things that you were able to search and diverse information.
It's kind of regulated.
It got.
Well, and you spend most of your time on like a handful of apps. Well, before it was like you would just go to all kinds of different websites, forums. And
remember, it's Eric Schmidt who said, hey, we want one answer for everything. He never said he wanted the right answer, by the way. Just one answer for the surf class. Let's talk to some of the tippers out there. Teresa Allen, thank you so much. Said peace, love is power. Patty Weimers, thank you so much for the tip earlier today. Andrew Lamoth, thank you. Ivan Wilson, thank you. And then we have GA, who set the charges in the towers for them to come down like that. I don't know. I can tell you this. What I can tell you is this. is that the debunkers love to try to say, well, you need to prove who did it. Well, how about we talk about this really quick, because I think that this is important. How about the head of FEMA in New York, Peter Bakarsky, saying that you have a cremation effect and you're not going to find body parts. And by the way, over 40% of the people there, they didn't find anything of. Forget about just the DNA he's talking about here. And you know why that is? Because there were temperatures of 2,700 degrees. You have a cremation effect. Okay, so again, the debunkers just say this doesn't exist, or he's wrong, and the NASA thermal imagery doesn't exist, and the molten metal doesn't exist. You see how they do that? I mean, it's fantasy land. Like, take a look. Is that normal? Of course it's not normal. And it's not normal. I was playing videos today, John, that people had never seen, of the coroner showing up, talking about this 20 years later. No plane at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. How about, John, 4 different FBI agents saying the same thing? No plane at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But then they just say that it disappeared into the dirt along with everybody else. And get this, they didn't recover the bodies, John. They decided that they were just going to bulldoze over it and make it a mass grave. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like any plane crash in history that we bulldozed over bodies and didn't recover them? Am I bad for asking that question?
It's that's peculiar. There's so many peculiar things about the day that have never been answered and never will be answered, and it just leaves people unsettled. I'm unsettled.
You know what? More than unsettled. Let's play some of that for people. If they missed my last video, let's play some of it for John, really, because I don't believe John has seen any of this stuff. We're gonna have to bring it over to the other side here. But again, these are newer videos that haven't been out, and now we're down here. So let's go. Boom. So here it is. Here's the coroner. Oh, still got Fitch blocked. Hold on. Sorry, guys. And what was blocking you there were this new Baltimore debris field. But we're gonna bring it right to about here. Let's start here.
There's days that I feel that way, but there's other days where it seems like it was a long time ago. I think about it every now and then, but
20 years and the memories may not be as vivid for longtime Somerset County Coroner Wally Miller. He's held the county coroner's office here since 1997, working with his dad and his family's funeral home since the early 80s. When asked about that Tuesday morning of September 11, 2001, he remembers his dad yelling from the other room.
And he goes, "Hey, come out here, a plane hit the World Trade Center."
Minutes later, a second plane hit the second tower.
Finally, we got word at the Pentagon that there was an explosion at the Pentagon. So I didn't know much about that either. I thought, wow, we're getting attacked or something.
About 10 minutes passed, Wally got a call from the Cambria County Coroner's office.
His secretary called and said, "Hey, Wally, if you need any help with that plane crash, call us." And I'm like, "What plane crash?" She said, "A plane crashed out of Lambertsville." I said, "What kind of a plane?" "A jet."
Wally got through to 911 only by his county radio and got word of an unconfirmed report of a plane crashing in Lambertsville. He got in his truck and went out to the scene.
"Well, where is this crash?" "Well, this is it." I said, "Well, no, I see debris, but, where is it?" I thought I'd see like a big fuselage missing a wing or something. They're like, "No, this is it."
A piece of earth in an empty field near the edge of a strip mine, scorched. Wally says hemlock trees looked like burned matchsticks.
We walked up through there, and there was just like smoke and fog everywhere, and all you could smell was jet fuel. And I can remember walking through there, and I could hear melted plastic dripping out of the trees, hitting the ground, like sizzling. And boy, that was a really eerie feeling. And we'd just go through those trees and looking for items, personal effects and remains, and anything we could find. And we did. We found a lot.
I'm going to show people what they found, but I do want to point out again, you see where this is going on. You see the trees. You see the house that didn't get burnt, and there's actually stuff over the roof. A lot of this stuff is in loose change that you don't see here. Many other witnesses saying there was no plane there. We're going to show you that in a second. But you know what they did find, John? They found a red bandana of the hijackers, right? They found, let me just show people the red bandana really quick because I think that will be important. We're going to block John off just for a moment. And there it is, John. There's the red bandana. No head on the red bandana. no rips, no burns. But Wally here is going to tell you, by the way, here's
Any
some other...
sweat?
Yeah, no sweat, nothing. This is where they got that from. Wally is going to tell us that they didn't retrieve anybody and that they just, again, plowed over them and it's a mass grave. But they found those personal effects. Don't worry. Let's continue.
So, and then down in the woods, there was a lot of things got knocked up in the air, and the wind took some of it down. Some of it was at Indian Lake. There was mail in that plane. Some of that got found as far away as New Baltimore.
And again, that's 8 miles away over a mountain ridge. And we've shown that debris. And here he is confirming that. And again, the debunkers just say that the New Baltimore site doesn't exist.
But the main priority for Wally in the midst of the largest investigation of his career was preserving the solemn ground where the 40 passengers and crew of Flight 93 perished.
I have long maintained that this is essentially a cemetery. The vast majority of remains were not recoverable, and so we covered that whole area there where the plane hit the ground. We covered that up with topsoil, so essentially it was just a large mass grave.
Bringing the families
repeat
together
that.
to find their voice.
So they didn't recover the majority of the people. All right, so now, John, there's more for people that want to watch it, but here, we're going to go, I want to get to right about here. Because these FBI agents are basically going to tell you the same thing that all of them. This guy's going to say he looked in every direction, okay? And there was absolutely no evidence a plane had crashed there. This is the local FBI. Now, again, they go with the official story at the end that somehow the plane disintegrated. In fact, wait till you hear what the photographer says. But I'm not supposed to ask questions with an 8-mile debris field and no bodies recovered, essentially, and a mass grave.
As to what was going on. Then there was a report about the Pentagon.
Initially, we were thinking, because I was on the evidence response team, that we would probably be going to New York to help there. And then when the plane hit the Pentagon, we weren't sure which location we'd end up at.
We then got a call about another plane potentially coming our way that was in distress. They believed that it was coming from Cleveland and that it may need to crash land at our airport here in Johnstown.
Let me just stop right here. Now, of course, it didn't end up coming out of Cleveland, but that's something that's featured in Loose Change 2nd edition and something I've been taken through the wood chipper for, despite the fact that, that wasn't especially something I wanted to put in. In fact, I was told that it was offensive to family members for covering that, what the FBI agent just said, by the way. Okay? Let's continue.
So he made a mistake saying it was coming out of Cleveland?
So, John, if you watch the 2nd edition, there's a whole thing about the Cleveland airport because they thought this plane was coming out of Cleveland because they had Phantom aircrafts and all these landing. Of course, we find out later it's not, but we've talked about the drills that morning. We've talked about the inserts. We've also talked about the fact they found weapons on other planes. We also talked about the fact that United 52 had people get off on it that they thought may have been hijackers, and they had the same personal effects as Mohammed Atta. We've talked about the fact that the passport of one of the hijackers actually survived the World Trade Center crash and looks suspiciously like these other ones here that they find, okay? So there's a lot going on that day. But again, we're going to now show you the FBI agents that were first on the scene and what they said.
That this may be deliberate, that it may be acts of terrorism. It would potentially be a crime scene in our jurisdiction. Before we got to the airport, though, we were told no, that divert from there, that a plane had crashed in Shanksville.
And I just remember thinking, that's our territory, that's our squad. We're going to be heading out there. So I got back to my car and started out of the city as quickly as I could.
And this is actually produced by the public relations department of the FBI, just to let you know, okay?
Being a hero. Turn that
I think we finally arrived out at the scene between 2 and 3 o'clock that afternoon. The plane crashed shortly after 10 a.m. So we had an RA out near that site, and they responded initially.
We would have been the first because it's 20 minutes from the office as we drove that day. I expected to see fuselage, remnants of a plane, which I didn't see anything but pretty much smoke and some fires.
I saw absolutely no signs that an airplane was present no matter what direction I looked.
You didn't know that a plane had crashed there. You had a crater, and the initial crater was probably 15 feet deep, but we didn't have big plane parts laying everywhere.
I mean, am I crazy? Or do all three of them all say there's nothing there that they saw that a plane had crashed there? But I'm crazy for asking the question. Now listen to
It just vaporized on impact.
Now this guy, the bald guy, is going
to make us believe it vaporized in impact.
And we have an 8-mile debris field, and we couldn't recover bodies, but we did recover a red bandana. Okay? And this guy's going to tell you now that you could tell that the whole plane had sunk in, and you could see the wing marks. Okay? That's how crazy this thing is.
It looked like the plane had hit, but there's not a lot of evidence of the airplane, and I've described it a lot of times as basically a knife through hot butter.
What I saw when it got up there was kind of I've described it as a crater. There was a mound of dirt above it, and when you stood above the mound, you could actually see the wings, outline of the wings and the main fuselage, the center of the plane, how it went down into the ground.
There was a misty smoke in the air from the jet fuel that had set the woods on fire.
It was very barren. It had been a strip mine.
And I did a whole video on this, but again, I mean, am I supposed to believe? And by the way, do you want to hear the evidence that it was taken over by Todd Beamer and the gang? This is the evidence, other than the let's roll phone call, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy who supposedly is the chain of custody, and he kind of squints when he's asked about it, for the flight recorder that they find on the 4th or 5th day. Remember, they find the flight recorder. They say in this, they find it 25 feet into the dirt, where apparently the mass grave is, okay? But no bodies. And this is the evidence of the cockpit takeover and the Paul Greengrass movie. And remember, the red bandana, right? That came from this plane. Remember, we showed you the red bandana.
Which I'll presume to be the pilot, because you do hear some screaming and some no. 2, then a winded individual gives a command. Maybe 5 minutes later, that same sort of speech is given. That is the only English that I hear that I presume to be coming from the person who's now in control of the airplane. There's breaking glass. I don't know if I can say that it's a fight going on, but clearly there's some aggressive action.
And that's it, John. That's the flight recorder. That's how we know that Todd Beamer and the gang crashed that plane where everybody was just mulled over. That's it. That's what they got. I'm the kooky. I'm kooky Burmis for going, wait a minute, that doesn't prove anything at all. That could be literally somebody grabbing like a bag of potato chips and rustling them. Like, I'm not saying that's what that was, guys, but I'm also not saying that's a cockpit takeover by heroes taking out Islamic terrorists when there's no plane in that field. Excuse me for the questions. And they just vilified, where is he? They just vilified Spike Lee, did I already take that down, for daring to interview one of the flight attendants who knew the people on Flight 93 and asking them in the 3rd episode if he thought it was shot down or they crashed the plane. Do you think the flight crew and the passengers crashed the plane, or was it shot down? I think it was shot down. Really? Do you? I mean, wow. Clown world, bro. Clown world. So, again, we've got the New York Times guy coming on to Face the Music for at least 30 minutes tomorrow. I can tell you right now, I'm going for the throat. I'm going for the throat. Like,
oh, you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to do it. The guy went for the throat on me. He tried to associate me with kookiness. We got George Bush, the mouthpiece for the neocon war
I don't
criminals.
understand how any of these people are listening to George Bush. Because he said some mean things about Trump. Now he's okay. These people hated him all through the 2000s. Made fun of him every night on Jon Stewart's little show, Saturday Night Live. made fun of him all the time. Like, he was not a liked person. He was a war criminal. Him and Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Like, they were war criminals. People hated them. And now, all of a sudden, they're throwing him back up there. Is anybody really paying attention to this shit and believing it?
You know what? It's the narrative they're pushing. Well, let's talk right now. Because there seems like there might be some fortifying of elections going on in your recall election. Did you see the clip of the woman who said that she went to go vote at the recall and she had already voted the other way and that her friend had voted the other way? Dude, I think we need to play that. I think we need to play that. Guys, I'm not saying that there's...
Yeah, I mean, if they could fortify one election, why wouldn't they fortify the rest of them?
They're fortifying. They love the word fortification.
They love to fortify the elections.
So here it is. Shout out to my man Luke Radowski here. He posted this, but this is KTLA 5. This is local. I think this is LA.
Court and Rick, this is quite a story. Good question. What is going on? We spoke with several concerned voters here in the West San Fernando Valley who believe something wonky had been going on at places like El Camino Real Charter High School in Woodland Hills. This place opened up as an early polling location, open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, but several people tell us they showed up to vote this morning in the special California governor recall election and were told that computers showed they had already cast their ballots. So what?
What?
Staffers, they say, were apologetic and helpful, but those voters we talked to are extremely concerned, suspicious, and wanting answers. California native and current West Hills resident, 88-year-old Estelle Bender, spoke with us just a short time ago. What happened today and how shocked are you?
Very. I went to El Camino High School to vote, got there at 10:30, gave her this, and she scanned it and said, "You voted." And I said, "No, I haven't." And she said, "This has been happening all morning." The man next to me was arguing the same thing. So as I left, I did the provisional ballot and left. I was just really angry, and I saw two women walking toward me as I left, and I said, "Don't be surprised if they tell you you've already voted." And she said, "They've already done that." If I voted, how did I vote?
And who did you vote for?
Well, I asked the couple, the young women that I talked to, and I said, "Are you by any chance Republicans?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, so am I. And so are the two friends that had the problem at VFW."
Huh. So multiple locations, multiple people walking. See, this is why it's called one person, one vote. There's an actual ballot and a receipt with that ballot, right? And you have to show identification. That's it. Anything else is what I like to call Johnny motherfucking nonsense. Okay?
Mail-in votes are highly suspect. Unbelievably suspect.
Hey, I mean, guys, again, do you think this? It looks like another Trump hoax. Trump is a hoaxing now over in California. It's a MAGA hoax. And the thing is, guys, it's not about left or right to me. Gavin Newsom is an out-and-out war criminal to me. And he should be a war criminal to all of you, just like Andrew Capo Cuomo is a war criminal. Okay, Lori Lightfoot at this point is a war criminal. They fucking hate you. Let me repeat that. You're hate
cattle
you.
To them. You're slaves. You're there to work for them and serve them.
They fucking hate you, dude. And when I see a bunch of, presidents play acting, when I see Obama and the gang, Obama, Biden, Bloomberg, Clinton, I think to myself, wait a minute, buddy, you weren't masking up at your dance party over in the Hamptons. You know who was masked up
There's
over
a picture
there?
floating around of them, too. Like, before the cameras were on, nobody had a mask on. And they had, everybody put your mask on. We're going to take some pictures.
It's all right in front of us, okay? You saw Nancy Pelosi with all the slaves. If you watched the MTV Movie Awards last night, if you saw the altercation between McRapist and Machine Gun Kelly, you'll notice that the bouncers had masks on. Security had masks on. You know who didn't have masks on? The celebrities.
Yep.
Okay, no maskies for the celebrities. So what does that tell you? That tells you the two-tier system, it's actually a multi-tier system. But I guarantee if you're watching this, you're at the bottom of the rung. You're bottom of the barrel. You're dirty like Burmis. You might as well embrace the suck because they fucking hate your guts. I don't know how else to tell you. Your kids probably started school out in California this past week, right?
Yep, they've been in school a few weeks now, so it's going good.
How is that going right now? Let's talk about that because they're in a private school.
Yeah, they're in a private school, but they have to wear masks. That's a little bit annoying to me. There were some emails out last week about, they had to cover cancel the PTO meeting event because somebody in the school had a positive test. It's just a lot of people overreacting to stuff, I think. It's weird, but you go other places, I found bars that have no requirements for masks indoors. Mm-hmm. Depending on where you go, people will or will not have masks on. Go to a dog park, most people don't have them on. Depending on what neighborhood you're in, I think it will matter whether or not, Palo Alto, probably a lot more masks on than East San Jose.
Well, what you're going to see is now the enforcement. Today is the official day of the New York City key to slavery pass. It's your key to slavery forever if you accept this. And what they're going to do, just like de Blasio said, there are going to be some warnings in the transition period. But as Biden told you, and it's not really Biden, right? Zombie Joe just tries to read off a script. He said their patience is wearing thin. And it's $14,000 a rip for everybody that doesn't go along with the slavery requirements. Do you get this? And now it's 100 people. And if you don't think, listen, if you think it's going to be 100,
you have the post office. They don't have to get the jab. You have, I think members of Congress and their staff are being exempt from a lot of these rules too.
Well, let me explain it to you, John. It's not just going to be employees or employers with 100 people, right? And then they'll take it down to 50 next, because they will do that, right? It's going to be now nationally, they're going to try to say that you have to have some kind of slavery identification for gatherings of over 100 people, right? That's the next thing, because that's just as dangerous. So if you run that, now you're liable. That'll be the next big thing. So all bars will have to have the slavery pass at 100 people capacity. Because if 100 people work for you, obviously it's the same parallel. And I saw you tweeting something out that Kamala Harris said, eh? She basically said, we're going to vaccinate you all. That's the goal.
That's what it is. It's not about the vaccine, though. It has nothing to do with your health. It has nothing to do about vaccine. They have to have a reason to force you to get the vaccine passport.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's the only reason. They need you on the credit score, social credit score. They need you with your little app and your QR code, the mark of the Biden.
Mark of the Biden. In fact, this woman summed it up pretty well. You tweeted this out.
Yeah, getting patient. Very based.
Let's play her.
Fool talking about my patience is wearing thin. Who the fuck you talking to? As long as your patience don't get as thin as that hairline, I think we'll be all right. I am not your child. And I'm sure enough ain't your bitch. You're talking about your patience is wearing thin. These people have law. They acting like they, you know what I'm saying? Like they paying your bills and dicking you down. You got to watch. I saw that little clip. I said, oh, he's crazy. He really think I'm his hoe. My patience is wearing thin. I need you to get out on that boulevard and bring me my money. You ain't my pimp, nigga. What the hell is wrong with these people? He really said that shit out of his mouth. But our patience is wearing thin. You bald head. See, I'm trying. I thank God. See, that's Danny calling me right now, trying to save.
God bless her. And, as we get into the circus and the absurdity of it all, I want to point out to this absurdity. All right? So I actually covered this story in November when they said they'd finally killed Ayman al-Zawahiri. Now, this was as cartoonish as it got to me, this story. Ayman al-Zawahiri supposedly is one of the leaders of Al-Qaeda, and we have videos of him with bin Laden before 9/11. And I remember South Park used to play actual video clips of Zawahiri and all these other things. And somehow, guys, our awesome intelligence agencies never got him. Never got him. So in November, when they said, hey, we finally did it. The guy puts out a video on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And you don't think that the fucking war on terror is a farce? You think these people care about you?
He looks like the White Wizard, too.
Dude, if this guy is the head of all terror, and we're still waiting to convict Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the gang 20 years later and show military tribunal trials, and I said that terribly, but I got upset, show military tribunal trials. They're not trials, okay? Meanwhile, they made every black site possible. Gitmo, Abu Ghraib, you legitimized it, and you got a cartoon of a character living for 20 plus years putting out their propaganda. And by the way, this is military-industrial complex propaganda for the Arab world. If you don't think this fucking guy is an asset, how the fuck do you think he survived 20 fucking years, dummies? Like, seriously, he's the head of Al-Qaeda.
How is that even possible?
Like, come on.
When did so like he just disappeared? Did they try to say they got him or?
Yes. So in November of what was it? I think it was in November of last year, right? So about 10 months ago, they finally said they killed him. All right, and I covered it because I was like, this guy's been long forgotten. It's a bad joke. You know, we were talking about getting out of Afghanistan at the time. All these things. It was before Trump was even out. I was basically going in on the war on terror. So then I see on the 20th anniversary that the guy appeared again. And they kill a lot of these guys multiple times, by the way. Like, how many times was Bin Laden supposedly dead or hurt? And I see this, and let's just play some of it. I mean, it's cartoon level, guys. I'm not going to play the thing. But I mean, like you said, he looks like a wizard.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that this is, again, to infuriate you, to show the incompetency of the United States to try to make our empire crumble, that's all by design. That's all by design. This guy, listen, again, all part of the plan. You don't survive like that if you're not part of the plan. Think about this. Soleimani, who was in Iraq, directed an army allied with the United States and actually fought ISIS, okay, was killed in military drone strikes with like zero discernment by our military-industrial complex. And just no problem at all.
Wedding parties, funerals.
Don't give a fuck.
Get them all.
And they didn't get him. And let me say this about something. You know, everybody wants to say never forget, always remember, blah, 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 blah. Never forget that 90% of the people that die in our fucking drone strikes are civilians, women, and children, motherfuckers. Never forget that. And I'll say this. Their 10% that they're saying are terrorists, that's a lie, too. I think that like 10% is
terrorists.
Yeah, 10% are terrorists that they kill. Unfortunately,
10%. If he looks like a terrorist, it's close enough.
Remember, and a lot of people will doubt me on this. We're gonna show you this. They classified over a decade ago that enemy combatants. Remember, they like to use semantics. Were 16-year-old males.
Yep.
So kids that just got their driver's license in this country were what? Enemy combatants.
Qualified as military combatant. As long as you were of a fighting age, if you can shoot an M16 or an AK-47, you qualify. You're legally qualified to get drone bombed.
Yep, absolutely. And let's see. Man, this is tough to find in Google land these days, but we're going to try to find it right
Yeah,
here.
man. I was searching some stuff the other day, and it's like anything that's good for you or positive.
You know what?
They'll bury it on Google.
We're going to copy the same exact search right here. Okay? And we're going to do DuckDuckGo. We're doing it live. Thumbs it up, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube. Who knows if this one's going to get me in trouble. We've been pretty saucy here. There it is right there. The first thing. I mean, how hard was that? There it is right there. Like, literally, the second one says 16-year-old German soldier crying because they know. Okay, they know. Here it is right here. United States of America, Obama administration ends enemy combatant designation. And what year was this? This is in 2009. So, again, this was over a decade ago they did that through the September 11th attacks. Let's see if it actually says the age on these kids. We got 416, so we might actually see it. Nope. Let's see if it's spelled by chance. Nope. See if teenage is in there. Nope. It is on the World Socialist website, but I promise you that was the reality. We're in wacky times, bro. What do we got coming up fight-wise, Fitch? Do you know?
I don't even know what's fighting. It's Saturday, the 18th. I have a seminar going on San Mateo at Bay Area Boxing.
Okay. 11
to 1 p.m. We'll be doing some takedowns, some wrestling for jiu-jitsu stuff geared around being in your gi. I'll throw a camera up, film some of that, and then hopefully have that available for people who can't make the seminar.
Man, I was at Fit Fest here in the Quad Cities, and Don Fry was there, man. He's looking rough, man. Like, that's why you want to stay in shape, man. Don Fry at 60, bro. Don, I love you, man, but you walk by me, I'm like, man, that some people don't keep it up. Some people.
He was, man, when I first got out here, he was like doing his last fight or getting prepped for his last fight, and it was like 45-minute warm up. He'd spar like 3 rounds, and then 45-minute cool down.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That
was like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, again, Miletich has got to be. He's not quite 60. I think he's 56 right now, and he's still in pretty damn good shape for an older guy. He gets around no problem. He's still working out. It's just rough seeing people get to the point where their body fails them after being in so many physical battles. And you've done a great job of not taking a whole lot of head punishment, at least in your career, and staying in shape, and now training people. So you got the thing coming up this weekend on the 18th on Saturday. What else? How can other people get involved and get some individual training from you, John?
Well, you can reach out to me through my DMs, Instagram or Twitter. I'm pretty accessible through that. Ask me questions. You can do consults also if you need help with diet, nutrition, exercise, whatever. I am available. And I travel for seminars. I got small groups running through my garage gym, and I have a few other places I do stuff at.
Excelente. Paul Spalato, he says, okay, I'm on board with you now. I appreciate that tip. I appreciate all the support, guys. And like I said, we are expanding. I'm trying to work out the details of this new building. I'm on the road in like a week or so. I'm going to be hitting the road. But I'm trying to get the keys to this building. I'm trying to get everything. I got to get a bank account for the LLC I just started and all that good stuff. But hopefully by January 1st, we're going to be rocking. Maybe we'll even fly Fitch out and do like a week in studio with Miletich. That'd be a fun Quad Cities thing. Then you go visit Indiana afterwards, Fitch. Take some drives.
If they let us travel out of state, I heard that was one of the rumors. They're going to cut down. You're not going to be able to fly without the jab. No interstate. They can't do that. I think it'd be they know they'd lose too much money.
Dude, who knows what they'll try to do because they don't care about money. You look at what's happening in Australia. They're announcing the New World Order in Australia. You've seen those clips, right? Where the woman
is this the economic collapse, and they know that the economic collapse is coming, so they don't care if everybody quits their jobs.
It's an economic reorganization. It's the Automation Nation UBI. It's to legitimize the robots. It's legitimize state care. It's to legitimize authoritarian control through digital apps. And really, it's to have medical martial law over your body and turn the populace against you through nothing but lies and hate. I don't know how else to put it. So, like when they announced the New World Order that you are now an at-risk individual, you don't even need a positive test. You know what I mean? That's it. Like they're telling you, you're stuck at home until we tell you, and we disarmed you in the 90s, so fuck you. Luckily, we're not disarmed. However, they kind of like that as George Bush parades around and tries to equate you with the bearded man who's probably on a CIA payroll. Okay, they want to make you.
They're trying to instigate. They want somebody to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So they can because if that's all they need, if they have somebody who's like, no, my freedoms, and they shoot something up, now it's going to be easy for them to lock everything down. It's like, oh no, we gotta if you're not vaccinated, you're a domestic threat. We need to get your guns. We need to put you in a camp.
Let's go even more conspiracy theory, bro. Like I said, we're shipping in Afghanis, okay, that we have wronged, and we've long time promoted a blowback theory, right? Whenever something bad happens, blowback. What happens when one of these Afghanis and their terrorist cell teams up with one of these white supremacists and their domestic terror cell, and they come together? That's what I'm fearing. They've They've hyped that narrative for years now, and now they've made that narrative an actual possibility by flying thousands of these people here. Now, do I believe that narrative? Obviously not. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe it's the bioterror attack this time. Maybe they release the Zeta variant of, COVID, of what, or who knows? Maybe they call it like COVID Muhammad. It's the Muhammad variant of COVID. Or maybe they call it the Muhammad Christ variant of COVID. That way they can get the Christian conservatives and the Muslims.
Get them all wrapped up involved.
Just, whatever works for the Bernaysian talking points. Guys, you know the drill. We did it all on YouTube for the first time in a very long time today. I'm going to be maybe doing some other videos. I know Ricky Verandas has a 9/11 broadcast tonight. I don't know whether I'm going to make that or not. I have other things I've got to take care of. But we will be back next week. Fitch, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody out there. Remember, premium memberships, $9.99 a month on Rockfin. You get everybody's stuff, $99.99 for the year, and you get everybody's stuff. You get John Fitch, you get Jason Burmis, and so many others. So, guys, I love you. Fitch, I'll see you next week.
Laters.
And we'll see you on the flip, guys.